Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I'm very excited to have Jess Harris from the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries here with us at P.E.A.C.E. My name is Serene Slabert. I am the co-founder and executive director of P.E.A.C.E. Canada. So today's speech or presentation, sorry, is going to be about accreditation with the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. So helping you help animals, accreditation explained. We will be taking questions during as well as after the presentation. So I will stay on and help Jess with that. So without further ado, Jess, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right, thank you so much for having us, Serene. We are so excited to be here. I am really excited about our program and sharing it with everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I have been working with GFAS in a few different roles for a couple of years and have recently transitioned into my role as program director for the Farm Animal Sanctuaries. So we have a long name that's kind of a mouthful, the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, but you will hear me shorten that to GFAS, which is how we all refer to ourselves here. And we are just really excited to try to help break down the process and just share with everybody a little bit about what we do, why it's important, and how we hope to support all of you who may be interested in certification with us or who are kind of somewhere along in the process, and just break it down so it's not quite so daunting, or just so it can answer any questions that you might have. So I'll just go into a little bit about myself here briefly, so you know kind of where I've been. So again, just transitioned into heading up this program beginning of this year, but I have been working with animals pretty much my whole life. I have worked, started out from the very beginning working in the Southeast United States in municipal animal shelters with companion animals. Over time, have spent a lot of time doing shelter medicine and veterinary care as well, in all different sectors. And as many people do in college, sort of realized what kind of dire issues face farm animals in the world, and sort of pivoted my focus a little bit. So I have spent some time doing advocacy work with the Humane Society of the United States, with the Humane League, primarily grassroots activism, some statewide advocacy with them. But I really can't ever get away from working directly with animals. It's just where my heart is. And so I am so excited to kind of merge all of that, here at GFAS, where I can kind of serve all of you who are on the ground working with animals, and still get to incorporate some of those other pieces from my life. I have been a vegetarian and then vegan for over 11 years, in large part because of the work that sanctuaries do, and some of the things you guys bring to light. So just a little shout out to all of you doing this work, that it does mean something, because I'm over a decade in here and never looking back. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the history of GFAS, and I'm going to spend a little time here to share some context about why we exist. As many of you know, sanctuary is not a regulated term, so a lot of different people could call themselves a sanctuary, but that does not mean the same thing to everyone. Some people have sort of jumped on this bandwagon to attract visitors and make money. Those are going to be things like petting zoos and pseudo sanctuaries. And so we really see this huge need to differentiate true sanctuaries, which is kind of a term that we coined, from everybody else who is doing this but may not have the animal's best interest at heart. And so this is an organization that was established in 2007 by some of the leaders of the animal welfare movement in the United States. But we are a global accreditation body, so we serve sanctuaries worldwide. We've reached most continents by now. We're still working on a few, but we really see this need to set you guys apart, the ones who um, are doing the work right and who are not sort of just exploiting animals in the process. Um, so this is sort of how the accreditation program came to be. This is our way of vetting groups who do direct animal care, and give a little bit of credibility to an unregulated industry. Um, it's nice for you guys also, who are just in these networks, to know who you can trust as well. So, part of this is sort of an internal process where, sanctuaries who see others who are certified can have confidence that they can network with those people if you need to transfer animals or do a joint rescue. You feel comfortable doing so because you know that those animals are going somewhere where they'll be well cared for. And then externally, it's a matter of creating credibility and distinguishing people doing a good work to all the other stakeholders who have an interest in this. So that would be people who want to make donations. That could be grant makers, legislators, particularly in the case of you guys doing farm animal work. It's often could be cruelty cases, something like that. And anybody else who wants to support you, in general, the public. So we are really here to strengthen sanctuaries, support sanctuaries, and we do that with our accreditation. So that leads me to our mission. In a nutshell, we're just helping sanctuaries help animals. We want to build you guys up. So we accredit groups based on how they meet our standards of excellence. That's what we call the things that you're asked to meet here, and I'll go into more detail about what those are. We work hard to bolster everybody to keep helping them improve, financially, operationally, even through animal care, and also just help foster collaboration, and your recognition to the public. And so in practice, we do this across the world. So we have our best practice standards created for 23 different species. Again, on many different continents. We most recently are very excited that we have a farm sanctuary verified now in South America. It's the first one, and that was just last year. Another in Europe, and many, many more coming. This program is growing very, very quickly, and we're so excited. We also try to provide lots of resources for you guys to keep improving, keep learning, keep networking together. More of these webinars and workshops. We do our best to advocate for you in policy circles with legislators and online, which, as we know, social media is where many things are now. So we work hard to keep supporting you there. And we also, as part of your certification, offer some exclusive benefits to our members, which I'll elaborate a bit more on later. So in short, here's everything in a nutshell. If you see this logo on an organization's website or materials, this is a really quick way for anybody interested to know that they are absolutely providing exceptional animal care. They are committed, they are capable, they are not exploiting their animals, and are, staying with ethical practices in many capacities. So this is just a really good way at a glance for everybody to kind of know where you stand. So how do you get this magical seal for your organization? Um, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit. Most of you guys who are here today are probably in the sanctuary space, meaning that you're providing lifetime care for your animals. There are a couple farm animal groups who do adopt back out. That is also acceptable, um, with certain policies surrounding that. And so those things for sure make you eligible. In general, you need to be a nonprofit, or have charity status, depending on the country that you're in. Every country is a little bit different, and so we do look at that. Um, and then there's a couple of other basic tenets that we ask everybody to follow. So if you are a vegan sanctuary, most of these are probably already on your radar and just a logical extension of that. But some of those things would be that you are not breeding any of your animals, that you are not participating in commercial trade. So you're not selling animal products, animal parts, anything like that. Another is that on tours, you are sort of protecting the best interests of your animals. So if they feel the need to kind of get away from visitors, if they're stressed by the situation, you're a little bit careful about how you lead those tours, and make sure that you keep their best interest in mind while you do so. Um, that you're not exhibiting animals outside of the sanctuary. So typically, you're not going to remove them from the property for any except for veterinary care. Um, and less applicable for you guys, but if you had any wildlife at the sanctuary, you wouldn't have public direct contact with that wildlife. And then beyond that, there's some other practices about how you are acquiring animals, about euthanasia practices. I'll get into a little bit more of that nitty gritty here down the line, but these are all part of our standards of excellence. The standards are not going to tell you how to do something, just kind of the end goal of what you will achieve. And I think probably the biggest misconception about the standards or your eligibility for certification with us is that you either have it or you don't. And that's absolutely not the case. So it's not pass fail. Um, there's certainly a few of these sort of hallmark criteria, like I said, your nonprofit status, your breeding policy, those kinds of things, that have to be, um, they're a little bit more black and white, I would say. But beyond that, a lot of the things that these standards or best practices we want you guys to meet um, are things that will help you work on. Um, it's not that you have to come into it having it just right from the get-go. Um, so I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here. Bear with me, guys, because it's a lot of information. And this is why I want to do question and answers throughout or at the end, because I know it's a lot. But I want to try to just make this as straightforward as we can for you guys. So when you're looking at GFAS, if you look at the website, you'll see that our certification is two-tiered. So the first tier is verification, the second tier is accreditation. And there's a couple differences between those. One thing you'll see here that stays the same is that we are making sure that animal care is top-notch, regardless of which level you're at. So animal care standards do not change between these two levels. The main differences between these are that if you are a newer organization, if you're a little bit smaller, if you have a little bit less financial reserve set aside, you're going to probably be aiming for verification, at least to start. If you are a more established organization, been around for a little while, you may have more staff members, and you may have, a little more time to have built up that financial reserve, then you may be more likely to be going for accreditation. This is something that if you were to apply, we would guide you as to where you might be a better candidate whenever you come to us. But what happens a lot of times is that people will apply and we'll say, listen, right now you might be a candidate for verification, but another year or two, you could totally get accredited and we'll help you. You may just need time to build up some of those documents. A lot of the things that you need for accreditation that are different are more on the operational side as far as documentation. So we're talking about things like standard operating procedures for your staff. So like staff manuals, volunteer manuals, an education and outreach policy, board governance type documents. And so they're doable. It's just that sometimes it takes time. And so we are happy to kind of guide you to get to that point if it's something you want eventually. That being said, even for verification, it is a huge achievement and a huge signal for any of your stakeholders that you're doing a fantastic job. Um, I will tell you that as far as financial reserve, for verification, you'd be aiming for about a month of your operating expenses to have set aside. For accreditation, you're looking at 3 months. Um, and so that's to kind of keep things going for that amount of time, just to give you guys a little bit more specifics on that. So here is this process. I'm gonna just go step by step here, guys, because we know that it looks daunting. And I will share a little secret with you. Even the biggest and bestest and most elaborate sanctuaries find this daunting. It does not matter how long you've been around. It doesn't matter how many documents or staff people you have. They still look at this and go, "Oh my God." And so it's totally reasonable for you to initially look and feel that way, but um, we are here to help you through this. You're not supposed to just look at this and have it all down and ready to submit. We'll guide you through it. So I'm going to go step by step with you guys, break down what all these things mean, um, and how long it might take you. So the first thing you do, if you're interested in doing this, is that you write us an email and you say, hey, I'm interested in doing this. And we'll have you submit this Form A, which is just an overview of your organization. So it's just going to ask you really basic information, um, your website, if you have GuideStar or anything like that for your 990 forms or whatever tax forms you have. This is somewhat, I apologize, this slide is somewhat US oriented here. And this is just for us to take a look at and determine your initial eligibility, make sure that you're on the right track, and help us guide you a little bit as to what your next steps are going to be. In the background, once you submit that, we're going to look at your website, at your social media, at any tax forms that you have. Make sure that you meet some of those criteria I mentioned, just regarding, your nonprofit status. Many times you guys are publishing some of your kind of core policies or tenets that you were founded on your website, just to make sure that they're in line with some of the things we're asking for. And again, those are things like, no breeding, no form of, animal commercial trade, all of those things. And once we approve that initial eligibility, we'll ask you to submit the application fee. So those are all kind of the quick couple things. It looks like a lot, but this is like a matter of days for these things to happen. The next step is going to be the biggest part for you on your end. So the next thing we'll ask you for is this census of your animals. And this is really just a snapshot of the animals currently in your care. So we'll ask you, who's at your farm sanctuary? What are their names? How many do you have? How did you get them? How old are they? All of the things that you guys probably have documented. If you don't have a more organized way of documenting it, many groups actually start using this form that will provide you to start keeping track in a spreadsheet. And so that's, kind of a resource for you as well. And then you're going to come to your application, and the application is in two parts. So the first part is your animal care. That's going to ask you all these nitty gritty questions about just your on the ground operations. So we're talking, fencing, feeding protocol, um, veterinary care, hoof and nail care, all of those just daily things that you're doing to care for the animals. And then the second part is your operations application. And so that is are things more related to your board governance, some of your financials, some of your safety protocols, and those kinds of things. That part, depending on how much, manpower you have, depending on where you're at in the process, um, it is normal for it to take you a little while to do. And then the last piece here of paperwork for you guys to give us are these required documents. So these documents are what I had referred to in this previous slide here about verification versus accreditation. They're going to be different. So you have many fewer for verification, which is that first tier of certification with us. And that's okay. Depending on where you're at, almost all groups have to create some of them when they come to us. I can think of almost none who from the get-go have them all existing and ready to go. And so I'll give you guys a link for a handy dandy checklist at the end of the webinar here, with a list of all those documents, and you can see a side-by-side comparison between those two tiers to see kind of where you might fall. And it takes some time to put those together. Once you have all of this paperwork handed in to us, we will come and visit. This is my favorite part of the job because I love working with animals and seeing animals. And so I am more than happy to get out from behind my computer and come visit you guys. And we come and chat and just take pictures of everything. When we come and we take all these pictures, we just documenting doesn't mean anything's wrong. It's just a matter of us getting everything that we need to make sure that what you have told us on your application is accurate. And last but not least, once we look at all of those things put together, your application goes to our accreditation committee, and they determine whether or not to move you forward. I will tell you again, so I'll pause here for a second. If for more visual folks, I just broke it down a little bit better here. Additionally, with just some timelines of kind of on average what it might take you to do these different steps. So again, that first just overview form and your fee won't take you much time at all. The next chunk is the real heavy lift for you guys, just to get everything down on paper for us. This has varying lengths of time depending on where your organization's at and how much help you have. Once you have everything in or almost everything in, we'll come out to do that site visit. And I will tell you right now, it is a struggle because of this darn pandemic. For now, our travel is paused until at least March of this year. It's still pretty up in the air, as all of you guys know, because we have no idea what will happen. But we are trying to travel regionally as soon as we can, to keep completing these site visits. But in normal circumstances, we should be able to get to you, within a month or two of you being at completion or near completion of your paperwork portion. And then once we are done with all that, you get to go to accreditation committee. So the committee will look at everything and, give us feedback for you guys. Reminder, it is not pass fail. So when you go to accreditation committee, they are not going to just say yes or no. They're going to come back and say, here are things that you need to work on. And they give you a timeline. So some of those things we might say, okay, you need to, fix your fencing here. You need to put together, an escaped animal protocol, and you need to put up some, signage on your fence. Um, and then that's it. Um, Additionally, you might be given some goals for your renewal. So every 3 years from the time of your certification, you'll be asked to complete a renewal with us. And that's going to be a mini version of this where you're just submitting kind of new, updates to some of your paperwork. If you've got new infrastructure, if you've had any major change in your organization, we might come back out to do another visit. Um, but as I said, none of this is just black or white. Um, as I've said, almost nobody has all of this ready to go. They just have to click attach, attach, attach to your emails and just send it in. Everybody has to work, even the most impressive established sanctuaries. Um, and so part of our process here is to help you guys as you do this. A lot of people are like, oh, I just didn't think of this. Let me go check my fire extinguishers. Oh, let me go, I don't remember, what this is. So some of it is actually a helpful way of self-evaluating and kind of refining your own operations as you go. And sometimes it's just nice to have an outside eye saying, okay, you're doing a great job here. Here's this other thing. Have you thought about this? Um, and so we help you do that. We give you resources to do it. You're not just going into this and we're going to say, well, you didn't create this protocol. You need to make it now. I'm going to give you a template for it. I'm going to give you guidance as to how to write it and what to include. And everything's sort of tailored to your operation. This isn't just, a blanket policy for every group. And so we help you get there, and then your feedback from the committee will say, you know, in some cases, just fix these couple of things and you're accredited. On your next one, let's beef up these protocols a little bit. Let's write this other thing down. But the idea is not, is not for you to have everything perfect. It's just for us to be able to give you feedback and help you keep improving over time. Um, and so, I want to encourage you guys to think of it that way and not be so daunted by feeling like you've got to get it right from the get-go, because most of us will give you some coaching before you ever make it to the committee, just knowing some of the things that they'll want to see. Um, and let me tell you, they're always so impressed with you guys, even anybody who still has a couple things to pull together. We're really all so in awe of the work that everybody does in this space because it's often thankless. So I always like to remind you guys, if nobody's told you thank you for what you do today, I'm here to tell you thank you because I'm so impressed with all of you. Um, and so I want to spend a little bit of time on why you want to go through this process. Like, why is this valuable? Why does this matter? Why would I put myself through months of paperwork? um, and I've got a whole list of reasons here why. The biggest one, or the most straightforward, maybe, is that if a stakeholder sees that logo on your website, that is a lot of information you've just given them at a glance. It tells them that you are doing amazing job taking care of your animals. It means you're not exploiting them. You're an ethical organization, both in your animal care, in your fundraising, that you're stable, that you're not going anywhere. You're really committed to what you're doing. And it's just a huge vote of confidence for anybody who's interested. One of the things that I put on here is increased grant eligibility. Um, Many grant makers like to see, this kind of sort of outside validation of your process and your operation. Um, there's a couple of other, key things here. So part of it is that you guys will become part of a network of other GFAS certified sanctuaries. And um, again, internally, that you can sort of have mutual trust because you've all met um, these high standards, that you can work together, confidently and not worry about, who you're working with. Um, we will, of course, as I said, continuously provide resources for you guys, as far as sample documents, guidance on how to create some of these things, some things that you just, especially if you're the one on the ground doing animal care, you may not have had time to really figure out how to write that succession plan for your organization. For your director will help you with that. You don't need to start from scratch. I've got a sample for you. You don't need to just write the whole thing over again. You just need to tailor it a little bit to what you're doing. We have a partnership with um, for legal services for you guys with Animal Defense Partnership. So these guys can help you draft some of these governance documents or anything else that has to do with your operations, um, at no charge. Um, for many of you, if you don't already, it's a great idea, and one of the standards for us to have at minimum general liability insurance for your organization. This will help protect you in many instances, especially if you're doing tours, if you have volunteers. Um, and so you can get some of these insurance plans at lower cost as a GFAS certified organization, because that insurance company knows that you are doing excellent work and that you are trustworthy. Um, Very recent addition is that we have partnered with Airbnb. They do this super cool. I didn't really know about it until recently, but these social impact experiences. So oftentimes people traveling want to do tours of all different kinds or kind of experience local culture. And so they offer use of their booking platform, which I've heard from some sanctuaries is really helpful because it's you can kind of tailor it to what you need as far as group size. Um, you know, you can have a fee, obviously, for the tour. So it kind of creates, just that technological platform that, you don't need to create yourself, and kind of bring some traffic through the sanctuary. And I have heard from some of our members that some of these small group tours have been very, very helpful in networking, getting new volunteers, new donors, people who have small businesses and want to share some of their profit with you, all different things. So this is a cool thing that just brings, an already existing platform to your door. Um, we do cross post any job or volunteer positions that you have, so you have it all in one place. And lastly, you'll qualify for our awards. So every year, GFAS presents the Carol Noon Award. So this is awarded to an individual doing excellent work in the sanctuary space. And as of last year, for the first time, we started doing our Outstanding Sanctuary Awards. And so those are by species category. Last year for Farm Sanctuaries, Happy Trails Farm Animal Sanctuary in Ohio, in the United States, won this award. And as a matter of fact, for the first time last year, a farm sanctuary director won the Carol Noon Award, which is a huge deal. It's Kathy Stevens of Catskill Animal Sanctuary. You guys probably know of her. And so there is a small, a monetary award that goes with these, but also quite a bit of prestige. And one more thing that you can point to for donors and grantors to think about when they approach you. So some of you, despite all this, might be like, I still don't know if I'm ready. And that's okay. but we have a new way to help you with that. So as of 2021, GFAS is really excited. This is our sneak peek that I mentioned, because this has not gone public yet, but GFAS is going to be piloting a new program. It's unofficially named the mentorship track at this point. Um, but the idea being that we know that farm sanctuaries in particular are seeing a huge explosion, a lot of people who want to be in this space, a lot of people who want to do it well, and we want to help with that. So we are creating a new kind of membership program where you can join, and essentially we will build you up slowly to the point of being ready for certification. So if you're not quite there yet, but you want to be, this is where you can go. So we'll be, we realize that we're providing you guys those standards of excellence, those best practices, but not necessarily currently telling you how to do it. There's not always one right way to achieve it. There's lots of ways to do it. But we'll start giving you access to the real nitty gritty how to's. How do you, do each of those items on your compliance list? Here are all the things for how to reach these standards, how to create this document, and work with you over time to build you up to that point. You'll have access to some small group sessions with professionals who are on the ground doing the work and can mentor you really closely. And you'll have a little bit, again, just this extended timeline saying, I know this is where I want to go. I'm not quite there yet, but I just would like a little bit more guidance, a little bit more help, and we'll get you there. So we're really excited about this program, guys, because we know that there's so many people who want to get here, um, and we want to make it happen for you. So this is just one more way for us to prepare you and to work together, um, and give you guys some more resources to get there. So I know that I have told you so much at this point. It's a bit of information overload. And so I've included here, Serene, I don't know if we can, when we make this available, hopefully these links will stay intact, but there are several links here to all different aspects of what I've talked about on the website. In general, if you visit sanctuaryfederation.org, um, you will see under the accreditation tab, you'll see all of this information there. So you don't need to remember everything that I've said here, but everything is there. I just was hoping to kind of break this down a little bit better for you guys and, make it a little bit less daunting. We also have a monthly newsletter for all things sanctuary. So, the goings on at all different kinds of sanctuaries. A lot of people actually have told me that they like to see what the other types of sanctuaries are doing. So, the horse people are like, oh, the monkey people are in it with us too. Everybody, there's a lot of similarity in sanctuary work. And so sometimes it's kind of fun to see what else is going on with the wildlife folks, with the equine folks. And so you get to see a lot of those similarities there. We are on Facebook and Instagram as well. And here I am. You guys can reach me by email. I'm on every day. So I'm more than happy to answer any question. There are no silly questions. It is a big process. We know it's a huge time investment. But I hope that I've just clarified a little bit for you guys and made it more clear as to why it's sort of worth it. And ultimately, it's for these guys here in my pictures that I know we all are working so hard for. So I'm really excited to be here to serve all of you guys and see how I can help. So please do reach out.